with those trades. So obviously, if you've got a situation where price is moving sell side, and you've got delta moving sell side, well, there's nothing down here to sweep. There's literally nothing at the bottom edge to sweep anymore, is there? Whereas if we've got some, sorry, I put the wrong line in that bit of the chart, so this should be attached to this one. Sellers on the delta at lows, okay? So there's the selling deltas, and there's the price. So there's nothing at the bottom edge to sweep. Whereas if we're coming into the bottom edge price here, or a bottom edge price from the background, and what we've started to do is we've started to get some delta sellers creeping into the markets here. Well, all of those, delta buyers, all of those delta buyers are now resting below here with their sell stop orders. And that gives the buyer a chance to sweep those orders to go bids, right? So obviously if they can sweep that price, then of course those delta guys will probably puke. And what we'll do is we'll get a great chance to then buy into the sweep lower. So it's important that we see those buyers at lower prices to jam them into those bottom edges. The challenge is that when there's now buyers at bottom edges, the chances are that there now needs to be a very strong book to get them to sell and to get the jam on place, because now we do have a bottom edge price coming in. And obviously it's up to us to now make sure we keep working the bid. We can now work the bid at any prices. Do you understand? We can now work the bid at any prices because we've got the buyers coming in. So there's the bid coming back in again there. So we managed to take some profits. There's the bid coming back in, and now we've had an easy rotation coming off the bottom edges. So obviously all you do is you start putting yourself in a very active bid watch instead of a passive bid watch, and you've been able to sweep the price back up again. And now obviously we're now moving back towards that cap seller level. So you already heard me saying that, and this should be a lot easier to get off the bottom edges now. And we said that just into this phase here, didn't we? We said it right there. We said it should be a lot easier to come off the bottom edges. Look at what's happened since that conversation. It's a lot easier to get off the bottom edges now, isn't it? Because you're not selling, you're not buying into that sell pressure. You're buying with buy pressure. So you're just basically now more actively pursuing the bid trade. You're now actively pursuing the bids coming in the book. You're actively pursuing the buyer side of the trade and trying to capture the buy off the bottom edges. So instead of these sell arrows, we ain't got squat diddly. We've got nothing, obviously, at the present moment. The black line still lagging behind the red line and the blue line. Still looks like it's got further to go to the upside. So that's a good sign. The blue line is still lagging behind the red line and the purple line. So it looks as if we still might have a chance of retesting 76s. So for me personally, it is a case of just booking some monies, but still keeping the long position open. And a little turn up, we'll book a little bit more cash just in there. But I think we could be looking at testing 76 evens through this little phase. Now, if we can get a pullback, we might be interested in bidding back in again. Obviously, we've got a little change in the background here. A little change in behavior in here. It's a half back. So we may be bidding 75 break again. And then we can come straight back in to try and get the market to run the 76 at the top edge if the value comes back in behind us. So that was a good exit. You can see it's pushed the price down quite nicely from 85 down to 77s. And we'll be watching for a possible bid back into this for the sweep up to 76 evens. So that's the thought process at the moment, down into this price and then a sweep back up, and we'll be looking to try and run the 76 bid. Okay, on to gold. There's not really anything on gold, to be honest. There was a very nice sell, which I didn't get because I was on oil at the time. So if you look at the gold markets, you'll see for yourself where the trade is. I think it's pretty obvious where it is. Remember, the idea is that the divergence. You're trading the pink in the opposite. You're trading the red in the positive correlation. So you can see here that we've got that very strong, easy to spot sell trade coming in on gold. Prices are a lot higher. You can see the red line is giving you a macro arbitrage sell. And obviously selling into that seems to be a relatively straightforward trade. Could you argue that the trade was setting up earlier? Yeah, but I think you could argue that the trade was setting up on this candle as well. First rotation was not successful. Certainly wouldn't have lost money in the first rotation. And then the second rotation was just that little bit better, a little bit more value in it. And a very, very easy sell rotation from that. I didn't get that trade because, as I mentioned, I was on oil at that point trading. So that looks pretty good though, doesn't it? That looks pretty good. And obviously the sell that came in from there went from a high price of what, 84s and a low price of 70, 79s, $500 on that rotation. So that was a pretty easy bit of business for the gold bugs, I think, to get that short sell into place. Into the retested lows, not really any value for me to buy into this, I'm afraid. It's had a fast money break. That's why it's had a fast money break, because there wasn't any value to buy it until it did break. So I don't really think that there would have been any way I could find into this as a buy trade opportunity. So nothing for me on gold at the moment. And the idea, as I said before, is you know, trying to figure out whether you want to be bid or whether you want to be offered. You can see the pink line relationship has changed. So I'm now looking at a possible top edge sell according to the pink line silver correlation. But that's got to agree with this as well, right? So obviously the red line needs to be premiumed against the blue. The red line is premiumed against the blue at the moment. So there is a definite possible sell coming in gold, but there's a massively bullish book on the moment on gold, a massively bullish book. Now, was that a spoof to try and get buyers to show up? If it was, it wasn't successful. There was very, very few deltas came in on that trade higher. So I think that the stops are possibly resting a little bit higher still. So I think they maybe have to go and do the spoof a second time. And there's still a bid on the book at the moment, and there's a spoof a second time, as we promised. So there's a spoof the second time. Still very heavy bids coming in, very heavy bids on the book. Deltas are puking now this time, so we're starting to see the delta puke. So let's see if they're able to rotate it off of that delta puke now. Some Baltics coming in. Still a bid on the book, guys. They still haven't taken the stop run and flipped it. So still no sell. The book is very bullish, by the way, guys, in case you're looking at the book. The book through this phase is very bullish. So obviously you see the value is now busted here. So there's no trade. I don't think there's going to now be a sell trade until we get nearer this top line again and we can start thinking about this one. So the book, I think they were trying to get a spoof at first, and when they got the spoof, they stayed bid. So yet again, on the stop run, the gold didn't flip. If the gold doesn't flip, what did we say before on oil? If the book doesn't flip, it's going to be bullish to the top edge. It's now bullish to the top edge, and that's exactly what happened. So no trade for me on gold that time, and we'll simply just wait it out and see if any new trades start to show up as a gold scalper. Cash open in the S&P was bullish. Sentiment was really bullish. So you can see the sentiment was very, very strong on this one. We came back into this sweep low here. There was a little swing low that didn't get tested, but you can see very strong positive sentiment on the S&P into the low prices. And the buyers have came in mass at 30, and they've taken the market bid off the 30s there. And you can see they've had a very nice rotation up to 45 on the buy side of the trade. Yeah. That was a nice little rotational bit of business there, guys. Very, very nice indeed.